Welcome to Passionately Moderate. I'm your host, Mark Gordon, coming back from a 3-month hiatus. Today is May 4th, 2014, and I'm here with Lawshe, Brian Lawshe, to give you your 2014 NFL Draft Preview. We've been working hard and watching a lot of film. Brian, how you doing today?
Doing awesome. Ready to talk some football.
Sounds good. So before we get started, what we're going to do is for our format here is we're going to go pick by pick. Are you taking the first pick or am I taking the first pick?
You have at it, Haas.
All right, I'll take the first pick. We're going to review the needs of the teams and why we take each pick, and we'll see what we think. So, obviously, first pick of the draft, I'm sure you've heard it talk to death, Houston Texans. I feel like, for me at least, this is a no-brainer, where I'm going with Jadeveon Clowney. He's the best player in the draft. Yes, I know the Texans need a quarterback, but there's going to be somebody left when the first pick of the second round comes there. I don't see a ton of difference between these quarterbacks. So unless you think the Texans are in love with somebody like Johnny Manziel, who is different than the other quarterbacks obviously that are available, I think Clowney's the obvious answer here.
I agree. I think Bill O'Brien getting hired there, he's kind of that quarterback, one of those quarterback gurus that knows a lot and can groom. I feel like he believes he can groom a lot of different quarterbacks, and it is a pretty deep draft at quarterback. I think there are 6 or 7 potential really good NFL quarterbacks. So I think you're probably right. I think Clowney's obviously the no-brainer there, and I'm sure they're going to look in the second round at somebody that they can get and try to groom for Keenum.
Can you make any argument for anyone else with that pick? I mean, to me, I think Clowney's a rare.
Besides a quarterback, no. Sammy Watkins is a stud at wide receiver, but they're not going to go wide receiver. And Clowney's just, you think about bookending J.J. Watts and Clowney, it's pretty daunting. So I can't imagine they would do that. But
I think I'd have to take a shot at it if I was the GM in Houston. So
absolutely.
Who do you got going number 2 to St. Louis?
I think St. Louis is going to go Sammy Watkins. I think he's got the size, he's got the quickness, he's got the speed, the hands, the whole package for a receiver. They need weapons in St. Louis. Sam Bradford is a little bit of a question mark, but I think if you surround him with some weapons, they got Tavon Austin, who's a good slot, and they're going to line up Sammy Watkins and try to put some weapons there. And I think that's what they need, and I think that's where they'll go. They might go line, but I see him going with Watkins. So
let me ask a question. In St. Louis, obviously they've made it clear that Bradford's their guy. Do you buy into that?
I don't love Bradford. I think, again, it's kind of unfair to criticize him because he hasn't been terrible, but he just hasn't been good either. He's just been kind of middle of the line. He's almost reminds me of like a Matt Schaub type, where last year Schaub was awful, but before that he was serviceable, was a good quarterback. So I don't know if Bradford's going to be the answer. I think Jeff Fisher is a little bit of a gambler. Would it shock me if they took a quarterback? It really wouldn't. Would it shock me if they took a lineman? Definitely not. I could see them going O-line. But
after what I've heard going into this, it would shock me if they took a quarterback here, but I'm just not sure that I agree with that for them. Maybe you get Bradford another year, but it's not often you get the number 2 pick in the draft. And I'm not saying I think any of these quarterbacks is worthy of that number 2 pick, but if you think you need a franchise quarterback, you got to think about grabbing one in the first round of any draft that you're in. And they do have another pick coming up a little bit later. Let me ask you one more question just about Sammy Watkins. So this is a guy I was on TV all the time at Clemson. I watch a lot of Clemson football games. Did you think he was a top 4 pick in a loaded draft type of talent when you were watching him?
I didn't, only because, and I watch a lot of Clemson too. I went down there actually a couple times, did a little partying down there. I went to the Florida State Clemson game one year, and I really didn't. He's a stud, but they had so many weapons there at Clemson, and their offense was so explosive. You didn't really notice him as that much of a standout, I felt like, watching them play. But when you see him on tape, when you look at his route running, his ability to catch the ball, his explosiveness, he's got the whole package. He's got size, he's got speed, and I think he's going to be a pretty good wide receiver in the NFL.
So I agree with you, and I do think that he's kind of moved up a lot of boards based on workouts and things, but he does play angry, and I like that in a wide receiver. So Jacksonville is another team with a very glaring need at quarterback. They have the number 3 pick. They also need a running back and an offensive tackle. pretty obviously there's no running backs here at this point in the draft that you would take. As far as quarterback goes, I think they probably feel like Henny is serviceable enough that they have some other holes to fill, and so I think they're going to probably end up doing what I would do for them here, which is take the fantastic offensive tackle out of Auburn, Greg Robinson. What do you think?
I agree. It seems like a lot of the projections, a lot of the experts and gurus feel like Jacksonville's going to go that way. I do feel like it might ignite their fan base a little bit to take a guy like Manziel, and that fan base is pretty poor.
They're going to be the Los Angeles Jaguars in a couple of years.
Yeah,
that's my official prediction.
I can't see it lasting that much longer, but I think the right and the prudent pick is offensive tackle. I think to maybe ignite the franchise, going with a quarterback like Manziel. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater, I think, might be a decent fit there. I actually like Teddy Bridgewater, but I do agree with you. I think they're going to go with a lineman. So,
what do you have Cleveland doing at number 4?
I think Cleveland's 100% going to go quarterback. I think they have to, even though they got a couple good games out of Hoyer before he got hurt, and he's slated to be back from his injury. I think, knowing the history of that franchise. They're going to try to take they're going to try to gamble and take one of these studs and hope that he turns into a franchise guy for them. I think probably they will go with Manziel because of the name and the notoriety and the publicity that comes along with him as compared to Bortles or Bridgewater. But again, I wouldn't be shocked. I think all three of the quarterbacks could be interchangeable as far as the first one to go. I don't know which one it's going to be. There's a lot of dissension and a lot of talk about it, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I like Johnny Football. I think it's tough to go wrong there with that pick for that franchise, but it's Cleveland, so I certainly wouldn't guarantee they don't find a way to.
Cleveland's
do that.
a disaster. They have a tough time in Cleveland. It just seems like everything goes wrong for them,
When they make a movie about the NFL draft and they feature your team and what a mess it is, that's probably never a solid sign.
No, definitely not.
So the Raiders had the 5th pick. I'm uncomfortable picking for the Raiders because I don't even know who's in charge over there with a lot of this stuff. But if I'm picking for the Raiders, who I would pick, I go with the guy who I think is the most talented guy left on the board, and that's Khalil Mack out of Buffalo. Obviously, like everyone else, I didn't see a ton of this guy coming out of school, but the stats are huge. He's a productive player. He measures up at the combine. Great at the Senior Bowl. I can't see. There's a chance he's the second best player in this draft. I can't see how you go wrong here if you're Oakland by taking that guy. To me, he has the lowest potential bust potential, I guess, of the guys left, unless you're looking at like a Jake Matthews or something like that, which I don't see them doing. So.
I like that pick for them. Oakland was really active in the offseason. They made a lot of acquisitions.
Taking washed-up Giants.
They took a couple washed-up Giants. A washed-up quarterback, most likely. But I think you're right there. I think Khalil Mack at that point, based on our draft here, will be the best available. And from all the tape and all the analysis, he looks like a stud. So. I think that would be a smart pick for them. Again, not a real smart organization, but I think that would make sense for them.
Okay. So, what do you have?
The Falcons. I mean, watching them last year, I think at 6, I think they have to go offensive line, offensive tackle. I think probably the Jake Matthews seems like he fits there. I wouldn't be surprised if they take him. They need protection for Matt Ryan. They have weapons on the outside. Their running game is adequate. But watching the Falcons games that I saw last year, Matt Ryan was running for his life. I mean, he had no time to throw the ball. I think that's a pretty obvious. I'm not 100% it's going to be Matthews, but I definitely think it's going to be line.
So Matthews is your official pick for the Falcons?
Yes.
Then? Okay. So and you like him better than Lewin for them?
Yeah, I think, again, they're both interchangeable. I think Matthews is a little bit bigger, or or they're actually pretty close in size. Lewan's actually a little bit bigger.
I think he's the safer pick.
Yeah,
Matthews, but you may get more upside with Lewin. Basically, some if you like the measurables in the combine, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I also, I know Atlanta's trying to move up to get Clowney, so I wouldn't leave that off the radar either. But
they're bad on defense too last year. So it like I say, offensive tackle mainly because I guess maybe as a person watching football, I view the offense more. But their defense was horrible last year too. They had no pass rush. They don't really have any outside rushers, so a D tackle would maybe fit for them there. Or a DN like Clowney, obviously, would be a pretty good pick. But.
When all things are equal, my theory with the drafting is you draft in support of your franchise player. So if that means that Matt Ryan, to me, is the Falcons' franchise player, then you draft to support him, whether it's a wide receiver, a tight end, an offensive lineman, a running back, something to support him. If you're the Ravens of 15 years ago and your best player is Ray Lewis, then you draft defensive tackles to protect him, And so I think you have to protect your franchise player here in a first-round pick. Atlanta probably is not as bad as what they did last year. I expect them to be better this year. I expect them to be picking at number 6 again anytime soon. So I think taking a guy like Matthews is a safe pick that they can build around and make sure they're getting a quality player here.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm with you.
So Tampa Bay is our next pick, our next team picking at number 7. I have seen some really interesting stuff from Tampa. I thought Glennon played well enough to get another shot. I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers feel the same way. And I'm not sold on the guy or anything like that, but there's a lot of speculation now that they're very determined to get their quarterback of the future in this draft. Going into the offseason, I thought they were looking at it possibly an offensive tackle, an offensive guard, or a cornerback. It's too early to take a corner. I disagree with the decision to jump on one of these quarterbacks here too early. I think there should be another guy left in the second round, or you can trade up to the end of the first round, possibly later. So I'm going to go with Taylor Lewin here from Michigan, the other offensive tackle that we kind of already talked about.
I like that pick, and again, I think what the philosophy or the thinking is of a lot of these teams as far as the first round is, do we take a risk on a quarterback, or do we wait and see if we can get an Aaron Murray or Jimmy Garoppolo or Derek Carr later in the second or third round, and try to build on the quarterback that we have, like a Mike Glennon, and try to work in that rookie that could be potentially that future quarterback. So I think Tampa's kind of in that boat where Matt Glennon had a good year last year. He did win some games for him. He put up some good numbers, and I think they're going to go. I think it makes sense for them to go offensive line. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they go too. I think again Lewin and Matthews could be interchangeable, but I like Lewin there too.
So what are you doing with Minnesota at 8?
Minnesota, sort of knowing the Wilfs and how they operate, my thinking is they're going to go quarterback. I don't think that they have that guy there. And Ponder's been a little bit of a disappointment, and I obviously think they realize he's not the guy for the future. I can definitely see them taking Bortles. I think if Manziel is still there at 8, they'll jump on Manziel before Bortles. Or Bridgewater. I really have a strong suspicion they're going to go quarterback. They do need a little bit of help on defense. Some edge rushers. They lost Jared Allen.
Who's your pick?
I'm gonna go with Bortles.
Bortles. So you're higher on Bridgewater than I am. I can already tell, and maybe we'll have a chance to talk about that a little later on in the podcast. But what do you know about Bortles that makes you think that he would be a solid pick here for Minnesota?
I mean, all the things that they talk about, and obviously I didn't watch a whole lot of Central Florida football games. I did see him play a couple times this year. He's got the arm, he's got the size, he's got what seems to be that NFL arm that people look for, the arm that maybe Manziel doesn't have or Bridgewater doesn't have. Bridgewater clearly didn't show it on his pro day, but I think he did enough in his career. I just think it seems like if you put the right players around Bortles, and if you have Adrian Peterson and you have some weapons on the outside and you have a decent offensive line, that could be a good situation for him. They don't have a lot of weapons besides AP, but I think that could be a landing spot for him.
Okay. So number 9, Buffalo Bills. And I think if this guy is available here, Buffalo will probably run up to the podium to take him. I have them taking Mike Evans if he falls this far in the draft to the Bills at number 9. He's the only big jump ball type receiver I see in this draft. As a Giants fan, I'd love to see him slip a little more, but I don't see that happening. I think if he doesn't go earlier, I think Buffalo gets him here. What do you think?
I think I kind of agree. I think if both if Lewin and Matthews go, I could see them going wide receiver with Evans. I could also see them maybe going defense with linebacker.
What linebacker would you take here that you think is worthy of this pick? I mean, would you take Barr out of UCLA? Would you take Mosley from Alabama?
Barr seems like the best athlete. Mosley plays in that Nick Saban defense, and he has that background where he's going to be familiar probably with a lot of the NFL terminology and the NFL formations. But I think Barr's probably what seems like the most NFL-ready linebacker. So I would probably say Barr.
It's funny they say that because I don't know how much you've read up on Barr, but he's only been playing linebacker for 2 years, and they were 2 really productive years at UCLA. But I do like the idea. If you're on that Buffalo Bills coaching staff and you think you're as good a coach as you are because you're an NFL coach, you probably think you can coach this kid up into the next world. So I think I do think there's a chance they take an offensive lineman if one of those guys falls to them, Lewin or Matthews. But if not, I think they'll jump up and take Evans there. Detroit Lions at number 10. Whose pick is that? Is that yours? That's you.
I think I'm on that one. I like him going defensive back. Probably, I think this is where you'll see a safety go. You don't see a lot of safeties drafted this high, but I think as far as the Lions go, that's obviously their most pressing concern. So I think they're gonna have to go with safety. My pick, the number 1 safety on the board would be Clinton Haha. I love that name, Haha. So I think he'll probably go there. Could be Pryor from Louisville, but I like Clinton Dix going to the Lions.
It's hard for me to take one of these safeties that high because I don't think they're in that, Eric Berry class or the guy from Seattle just got the big contract whose name is escaping me at the moment out of Texas a couple years ago. I don't think they're quite on that level. I'm sorry, what?
Earl Thomas. Right?
Yeah, I don't think they're on that level, so it's hard for me to take him this early. But they do need secondary help, and I'm not in love with any of the cornerbacks in this draft at number 10 either, so I think that's probably a good pick. Number 11, 49ers. So the 49ers kind of surprised me. Wait, the 49ers? Did I say that? Is that they
Titans, right?
The Titans.
Titans.
Sorry,
that's
I
right.
apologize. I don't know how that happened. The Titans.
I was like, hey, that's a good pick for them there.
So 49ers trade up. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So the Titans, to me, I haven't seen what I would need to see out of Jake Locker to make me think that he's my my quarterback of the future. I think they could also look cornerback in this spot, but I actually think that they're going to surprise some people here. And based upon who you've picked so far, I'm going to say that they take Derek Carr out of Fresno State at number 11.
Wow. It's
Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr's he put up staggering numbers at Fresno State. I see him on a lot of experts draft boards, kind of fluctuated. I think he's the 4th best quarterback in the draft. I think he will be. I think he's put up the stats and he has all the tools and the ability. So I would be surprised if he went there. If the 3 quarterbacks go in the top 10, I would be a little surprised if Tennessee took him there. But again, I think based on their needs, it's kind of they do need a running back, losing Chris Johnson.
But if you were them, you'd take Bridgewater over Carr.
I would, yes. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
So let's talk about it. What have you? I mean, to me, a quarterback that spent most of their college career playing in the Big East, which I think you're playing against subpar competition. I think Louisville has significantly more talent most weeks than the people they're playing against. I think they have a better coaching staff than most of the teams that they're playing against, and I just haven't seen anything that makes him exceptional. He's good, but I think he benefited from playing against inferior competition and being maybe ahead of his time as a freshman and sophomore, but I didn't see him get it significantly better this last year.
I think Bridgewater has a unique, more than most, a unique ability to move and escape and to throw. I guess part of my basis is watching him play 2 years ago against Florida and really just carving them up for yards and touchdowns, and it was a really impressive performance against a really good Florida defense. And that's, again, I've watched a bunch of Louisville games over the last couple of years, probably 6 or 8 Louisville games, and he always looked pretty solid to me. He looks like a leader.
He was good against Florida.
He was
There's
good.
No doubt about
yeah,
it.
So I just that big game ability for me kind of resonates, but I don't disagree either. I wouldn't be shocked if he's a little bit of a bust. I mean, his pro day was pretty bad compared to what other quarterbacks did. So
I mean, it's as bad as it could be for a scripted workout.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
When I watched it on the NFL Network, it was brutal. He made some bad throws.
When you compare it to Johnny Manziel's, it's like night and day. And Manziel just looks so confident to me, and Bridgewater doesn't. And I just don't see that same confidence from him. So we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. So both of us are a fan of the New York Giants.
Here we go.
Giants are on the clock. Who are you taking?
Well, based on our draft that we got going on right now, our little mock draft, I think if a lot of people are talking about Eric Ebron from North Carolina, and anytime someone gets compared to the type of athlete that Jimmy Graham is and the type of player that Jimmy Graham is, you get kind of excited as a Giants fan. I don't know that Ebron will be there. I definitely could see him going to Tampa Bay or somebody like that, because those tight ends are becoming such a fixture in the NFL, the big athletic pass-catching tight end. But I think if Ebron's there, I definitely see the Giants going there. They do need offensive line help, obviously, too, but I'm kind of hoping he's there, and I'm kind of hoping they take him.
So I'm going to give you my inside scoop on this. You're going to tell you heard it here first. I'll tell you the Giants internally, I don't think they like Ebron. I think they don't think he is a tough kid, and I don't think they think he's going to be the blocker that they're looking for at that position. He wasn't as productive in school as I think he should have been for the talent that he has, and he had a lot of concentration drops. To me, it just strikes me his weaknesses, and I know he's got massive strengths, but his weaknesses strike me as the kind of things that drive Tom Coughlin crazy. And I just don't think they're going to go there. And consequently, if the draft falls this way, and even if it doesn't, I have a feeling this guy will be there. But I have a feeling that they're going to end up going with Zach Martin out of Notre Dame, because I feel like he's the kind of versatility guy that fits their system. He is of extremely high character. One of these intangible guys, leader and hardest working guys, just everything that you'd want from your offensive line. To me, he strikes me as the next Giants generation's Chris Snee. I think he's that guy who'd come in there and be that guy for them moving forward. So, whereas probably a month ago, I was all over Ebron. I started to really read into it and listen to some of the beat writers I follow for the Giants. I think it's more likely they end up going offensive line. That's just my feeling on it. You may end up being right. They may just be trying to throw everyone off the trail.
No, I think part of what might add to your point is the Giants have never. They've always kind of been tight end by committee, and I think they realized that after last year, because the line was so bad, and because Eli struggled, they need to build from the line, and they made some free agent pickups and acquisitions, but if they can get a lineman like Martin and make him part of the core for that line for the future with Pugh and whoever else they might pick up in this draft, I think that probably makes sense for them there. So,
all right. So I guess St. Louis is falling to me. You're gonna need to give me a minute, because I need to look at who we have off the board here and where we're at. I thought the Rams could go offensive line. I thought the Rams could go safety, but with Dick's gone, I don't think they're going to do that. I guess I'm going to have them taking the wide receiver out of LSU, Odell Beckham, to get that pick going. Sorry, I'm trying to take the notes here and get that all going. What do you think of that pick?
That's right. I like it. Again, I think it's kind of dependent on. I think that they'll take Sammy Watkins second. So if they take Watkins, I don't think.
Actually, right? Do we have them taking Watkins?
That was my projection. But.
Okay, so then no. Well, then so I can't make this pick here. All right. So we got our wide receiver. Our 4 top linemen are off the board. What are we doing here? Let's see. I don't know. I'm St. Louis. You have any thoughts? Anybody's popping to mind for you?
I do think they need some safety cornerback help. They have Jenkins has been inconsistent the last 2 years. They don't have really what I would call a lockdown corner, and at this point, we don't have any corners yet drafted yet. The kid from Michigan State, I think, could be a real shutdown, lockdown corner. Denard, I like him a lot. I watched a lot of Michigan State games this year, and their defense was really solid, and he was definitely the anchor of that secondary. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they take him there, or maybe Justin Gilbert from Oklahoma State.
Yeah, something tells me that Gilbert's going to go first. I think both these guys. So in recent years, we've seen cornerbacks really move up on the draft boards. Because it's just such a need position in the NFL. Everyone needs 5 cornerbacks now in order to keep up. But I think Denard may have fallen a little bit more than Gilbert. So I'm going to go Gilbert here to St. Louis with the 13th pick. What do you think for number 14?
The Bears.
The Bears.
I think Chicago really solely needs to focus on defense. I think that's got to be the focal point of their draft. They need tons of secondary help. They need linebacker help. They need defensive line help. So I think they're definitely going to go. I think they're going to go secondary. Again, it could be a question of if St. Louis goes with Gilbert at corner or a safety. If Denard's there, I could see Chicago taking Denard. I think they're probably more likely to go safety, personally.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with the top safety left on the board, Calvin Pryor from Louisville.
From Louisville, loving those Louisville kids. All right, I gotta be honest. I don't know a ton about him. It's just not somebody that I spent a lot of time researching either in the pre-draft process. But I do think that they need some secondary help, and I've heard good things about this kid, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. So at number 15, we have the Steelers. They need help at cornerback. They need help at defensive line. They need help at wide receiver. But I think based upon what I'm seeing here in terms of what's left, I think they're going to go with one of the guys I've seen the Giants projected to take from time to time, which is Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle out of Pittsburgh. And I absolutely love this guy. I would not be upset if the Giants ended up with him, at that 12th pick. But if he falls to 15, I think he's a Steelers kind of guy. He's from Pittsburgh. Now he's staying home, going to the Steelers. I think it'd be a great story. I think the owners of the Steelers actually like those types of stories in general. I think they're still bitter they didn't take Marino. I was watching a 30 for 30 on that last night. But I love Aaron Donald. Hugely productive, amazing talent. I don't see a lot of weaknesses. I think in other drafts, he's a top 5 pick. So I think the Steelers go with Donald. What do you think?
Pittsburgh's always been known for having a great defense. In the last couple of years, I think anybody that knows anything about football and has watched the Steelers play can see that their defense is just not what it used to be. It's just not. It's not. I think they need to really look at their secondary and look at the defensive line and try to build that defense back up. I think their offense, Roethlisberger's a pretty good talent, and they have some skill players on offense. So I do like Aaron Donald a lot. I think he fits there, and I think that'd be a good pick for them.
Awesome. So we're about 28 minutes in, so we're on pace to get this wrapped up within the hour, so that's good. Where are we at with number 16 here with our favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys?
Them Cowboys. How about them? It's so hard to pick for the Cowboys because literally they could pick anybody. It really is. It's such a crapshoot. I've actually heard some banter going on about the Cowboys if Manziel does drop and people decide to wait on the quarterbacks, which is a real possibility. That they would
Jerry will take him if he falls.
That they would take Manziel, which would be awesome.
I think they'll trade up to get him. If he falls past like 7 or 8, I think they trade up to get him.
Yeah, and I would not be shocked. I think obviously the smart and logical pick would be somewhere on the defensive line because they're real depleted there. Maybe maybe defensive end or safety, really anything on their defense because they were so bad last year.
I think they're going to be upset that if Donald does go 15 to the Bears to the Steelers, I think they'll be upset about it.
I think there's actually some pretty the defensive line in this draft I think is pretty strong. I think it's one of the stronger parts of the draft. Lewis Nix from Notre Dame is a beast in the middle. He's a run stopper and a hole clogger. Timmy Jernigan from Florida State is another guy like Aaron Donald, athletic, really big. So I think they should go defensive line. I'm going to go with the best available defensive tackle, Tim Jernigan from Florida State. But I don't think that they will.
That's who you would take, but you don't think they'll take.
Yeah, it's like a Rubik's Cube, figuring out who they'll take.
All right, fair enough.
But that's who I would take.
So, number 17, Baltimore. They need secondary help badly. They also need some offensive line help. Did we have anyone take Denard yet? I don't think we have. I think he's still on the board, right?
Yes, I think he is. Yeah.
All right, so that's where I'm going to send. I'm going to send my man Denard from Michigan State to Baltimore. They've used some high draft picks on corners over the last few years with some mixed results. But I think he fits their system really well. I hadn't previously projected him to Baltimore. I thought some other guys might fall to Baltimore that they would take over him, but I think that that'd be a heck of a consolation prize. He's a tough-nosed kid, plays the run, tons of starting experience up there at Michigan State, and may not have blown away everybody on the measurables, but they were certainly good enough.
Yeah, he's a big defensive back. He's physical, like you said. I think he's one of those corners that you can match up with somebody and not be worried that he's not going to be able to lock him down. So I do think that makes sense there. I like that pick.
What do you got going on for them New York Football Jets?
The New York Jets, everybody's got them going. Wide receiver. We had this when we did our last podcast. We talked about Rex Ryan and obviously his passion for defense. So I think depending on the receivers that go, based on our draft, I wouldn't be surprised if they did go receiver. If Beckham is there at 18, I could see them taking him. We have Watkins going and Mike Evans going earlier. I think if Odell Beckham's there, he's a fast. He's another one of those big receivers, 6'5", fast and a playmaker. And you line him up with Eric Decker, and you might have some a possibility for some weapons there in New York.
But Brian, what about Stephen Hill? Don't you think he still has it?
I mean, I think Beckham is when they picked Stephen Hill that year, I think everyone kind of knew that there was potential, but it was a reach at where they took him, and
guy can't catch the ball.
He's got no hands.
He's big and fast and can jump, and that's great, but he can't catch. So
he needs that stickum that Hot Hands had in Little Giants, that tar,
All right, so number 19, Miami Dolphins. I heard they had some offensive line trouble last year. Maybe something about some bullying or something.
Did they lose a couple linemen? Did they?
I heard they lost a couple linemen. So
is Incognito back? No.
Yeah, he's back. All right, so but I got to look and see who I have as my top-rated offensive lineman here at this point in the draft. I know there's some possibilities. I know I like the kid out of Alabama, but I think this is a little high for him. I like the kid out of Nevada. I think this might be a little high for him. I'm just trying to figure out who I have left here. Let's see. Do you have any insights on where you would go with this one here?
Again, Quanjo from Alabama. I think. I don't know if it's a reach there, mainly because that's what Miami needs, and it is again. This is another. It's for offensive tackle. It's a fairly deep draft, so they might try to wait on that. But I think Quanjo would be a decent pick there. I wouldn't be surprised if they took him. I think they have to focus on the line. I could see them maybe going guard, offensive guard, which would fill another need that they have on the offensive line. So they need a running back too. Their running game is really not very good. But obviously you need to have a line, and they're not going to draft a running back in the first round. Although I think there are a couple running backs that could be good out of this draft. So I could see him taking the guard from UCLA, possibly, if he's still there. We only have Zach Martin going earlier than that. So
I'll tell you what. Here's what I think.
You can pronounce that last name, Mark.
No, I'm gonna go a different route. I'm gonna go with Morgan Moses out of Virginia. He's moving up a lot of boards. Guy's absolutely a monster. 6'6", huge wingspan, as they say, or arm span. A little bit raw, inconsistent at times, but really came on strong at the end of the year. His best game against Tech in the season finale. I'm going to go with Morgan Moses at number 19 to the Dolphins.
Okay. Cardinals. They were kind of a surprise team last year. Pretty amazing. They didn't make the playoffs at 10-6. I think there's a strong possibility they'll go quarterback, depending on how that all plays out.
Carson Palmer said he expected them to take a quarterback, which I thought was
I think
interesting.
It's pretty obvious that Palmer maybe has 1 or 2 years left. I can't see him playing more than that. He's already sort of losing his effectiveness. He has been for the last 5 years, but he did a nice job for them last year. If Carr, Manziel, and
is that me? Thank you, ESPN. I really appreciate it. Sorry about
just
that.
A little intermission there, that's all.
Oh man. Anyway,
if Manziel, Bortles, and Carr go, I could see them taking Bridgewater. I think if Bridgewater's there at 20, that would be a good pick for them.
All right, so let's go with that. Can't make this up. All right, so why is ESPN running fashion ads just for me? Is there something that my Facebook profile should tell me, or just letting people know about runway models on fashion stuff that they should be advertising that to me?
I don't know, dude. I mean, they're you got it all.
There's nothing.
You're a fashionable man.
Yes,
that was a ridiculous comment. I don't know what I'm talking about.
So the Packers have the 21st pick in the 2014 NFL Draft. They need some help on the defensive line. They need some help at safety. They need some help at wide receiver. But you know what, a guy I think that is still available here that I don't think we've had anyone pick. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but I think we still have available is Barr from UCLA. I think if he ends up down here, I think the Packers will scoop him up, and I like that pick for them. Gives them a little extra pass rush, and with him and Clay Matthews together, I think could be a pretty interesting tandem coming at the quarterback on the blitzes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think everyone knows the Packers struggled. They just struggle to get stops. They've struggled when they've played the 49ers, and any team that really has a prolific offense, they just can't. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to score his points, and he's going to take them up and down the field. But their defense just has a real hard time getting stops against good teams. So I think defensive line, packaging somebody with Matthews would be a good pick here. I think they do need some secondary help, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go safety, but I like Barr at 21. I think if he's there, that'd be a great pick for them.
So our other favorite team is picking at number 22, the Philadelphia Eagles. What are we doing there?
Do they have any players on defense? Like, do they? No. They have to go defense. They've pretty much re-signed everybody they needed to on offense by some miracle. I don't really know how that. Besides Deshaun. But I think they did a pretty good job with that and making that work. I think they have to go.
They go Mosley here if he's available?
Yeah, I think Mosley would be a good pick. I like that pick.
I'm seeing people online going Cody Latimer out of Indiana, wide receiver.
I think they need a little help up the middle. And there's, like I said, there's a couple good defensive tackles. Maybe Lewis Nix from Notre Dame.
Did we draft?
We don't
already have him going.
I think we had Jernigan going.
Oh, okay. You're right.
So I could see them going there, or safety. But again, safeties in the first round. It's a little bit of a.
The only two guys I think that are going to go have already gone.
Yeah, I agree. So
who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Nix from Notre Dame.
All right. I actually think there's a chance that Mosley might fall like this on draft day. I just think that those Alabama kids, I think people have expected them to be bust now just because they're playing under, one of the best defensive-minded college football coaches ever, and maybe that is a big impact into why they look that way on Saturday. So I think that scares some people off.
Mm-hmm.
Number 23, your surprising Kansas City Chiefs. Talking about the Chiefs. So they need a wide receiver. They also need an offensive guard and a safety. I actually think Xavier Su'a-Filo from UCLA is probably the best.
Let me get a pronunciation
the
check
best
on
here.
that.
Su'a-Filo. It wouldn't surprise me if they took Marquise Lee. It wouldn't surprise me if they took the kid out of Indiana that we just talked about, Cody Latimer, who I actually like Latimer a lot. He's a big target, feisty guy. I like him. But I think they go with more offensive line help for that offense, opening up some more holes for those that dynamic running back combination they got. So I'm going with Mr. Xavier from UCLA.
Okay. I like that pick. The Bengals. The Bengals, on paper, are a really good team. We
Paper champions?
Paper champions, absolutely. On paper, they don't have a ton of holes to fill. I think they could definitely use a cornerback. I don't think they'll go cornerback in the first round. I think defensively, they're probably going to go defensive end. I think there's a couple that are available that might work there. D. Ford from Auburn would be a possibility there. Again, it's kind of hard with Cincinnati because I think that they have a bunch of different options that they can go with, but I see them going defensive end, so I'm going to go with D. Ford from Auburn.
D. Ford from Auburn. I can't argue with the pick. I do think there's a chance they'll go with a cornerback in the first round, but I'm not terribly in love with any of the ones that are left. I think I would have gone in a slightly different direction. I think I might have gone with Bradley Roby out of Ohio State, but I don't think you can go wrong with that pick either. So number 25, the Chargers. I think they're going to go with they're going to try to find Keenan Allen a running mate. I actually like them taking Cody Latimer there for the Chargers at number 25. What do you think about that?
I like that pick. I think that'd be a good pick for them.
I've seen some other wide receivers attached to them, and they may end up going in a different direction. I've seen people like Brandon Cooks from Oregon State attached there, and that could definitely happen. But San Diego's philosophy has always been to get big, tall receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Vincent Jackson, Malcolm Floyd. They go with those 6'5" receivers, and I think Latimer is more in that mold than somebody like a Brandon Cooks would be. That's why I expect him to go in that direction.
I agree. I like Kelvin Benjamin from Florida State too. I think when you're talking about those sort of big, lanky receivers, he's a 6'5" kid. He's pretty productive last year when he won the national championship. So I have him ranked a little higher than Latimer, mainly because I've just seen him more. I've seen him play more and seen more tape on him. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go Latimer there. I do agree. I think they're focused on the offense and they want to give Rivers some weapons and Keenan Allen emerge. So I think that'd be a good pick there.
So Cleveland Browns from the Colts in the Trent Richardson trade. They have the 26th pick. Who did we have Cleveland going with earlier? Manziel, right?
Yes.
So what do we think they do with their new quarterback?
I think they're probably going to go line, give their new quarterback a little bit of protection. Best available, based on what I'm seeing. Again, a lot of the tackles have gone already. We've had 3 tackles go so far. Gabe Jackson from Mississippi State and Joel Bitonio from Nevada are the two highest rated guards on the board
Tackles.
at this point, or guards.
Well, you have the kid from Nevada as a guard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, just based on that, I think if they're going to go line here, and they do need a guard, I would go with Bitonio from Nevada, big 6'4" kid, senior. So I think they're going to go there.
Okay. Let me take that down. Who's up next for us?
New Orleans.
All right. Let's talk about our New Orleans Saints. Perennial Super Bowl contender. Always need help in the secondary, right? So they're looking cornerback, offensive line, also outside linebacker. Is Mosley still available in our board? Do we have nobody picking Mosley?
I've heard his name several times, but I don't know if we.
Do we have the Packers? We had the Packers taking Barr.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anyone taking C.J. Mosley here. All right, I think this is where this stops. I think New Orleans takes him. I think they'd be happy to get him.
Absolutely. At that pick, if he's there, I like I said, a lot of people have him dropping, but I think at that pick that would be a steal there. So, I agree. I like that.
Got about 5 picks left. Next up is our Carolina Panthers.
The Panthers, who lost every receiver that they.
Yeah, and they need offensive tackles like every other team. They need defensive backs like every other team, and then they have literally no wide receivers.
Literally, actually, I heard that earlier today. They had 4 receivers, only 4 receivers last year that caught passes, and none of them are on the roster.
So that leaves 0. I'm not a mathematician, but 4 minus 4 is 0.
That is 0.
Fantastic. So, who's your best wide receiver left?
I think the best receiver on my board is Kelvin Benjamin from Florida State. He's a big target, athletic. And you had Latimer going as the last receiver, and I had Benjamin ranked a little higher than Latimer. So I think if he's there and he's the best available receiver, I think they'll go with Benjamin there.
I think that would be a smart move, and then I think they should go wide receiver again. Because 3 is better than none. All right, so New England is our next pick. We all know the Patriots have tons of holes. I'm just kidding. No, but they do have some holes, and I actually think they're going to see the team that would want to go wide receiver here. I don't know that they're necessarily going to reach, but I don't think that they have to. I think if this breaks out the right way, I like the kid Cooks from Oregon State here. I think that if he's available, I think he kind of fits that Wes Welker role a little bit for them. So I like that pick for the Patriots. What do you think?
I like it. I mean, they're always looking to put weapons around Tom Brady, and they're not afraid of developing young talent and developing young receivers.
They should be looking to put weapons around Tom Brady. I feel like they don't always do that.
I feel like just based on the pattern of the Patriots in drafting, from what I can remember, they typically go defense in the first round. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go defensive line. That wouldn't shock me, but I do think if there's a receiver there, again, there's 5 or 6 receivers I think that could potentially go in the first round. So if Cooks is there, I could see them going there. I like that pick.
Do you have anyone that you would pick over that you would say if you were making that pick, which direction would you have gone?
I probably would go defensive line.
Like Hageman out of Minnesota, or Hageman Rashid?
Yeah.
Or Coney Ely out of Missouri? Those are the next guys you have on your board?
Yeah, I know Belichick kind of likes he likes his linebackers too. Inside linebackers aren't really projected that high on a lot of boards.
Certainly, if Mosley fell to him, you could see him making that
absolutely, pick. Yeah, which is a possibility. But I think they'll probably go defense with that first pick.
All right, so the 49ers, who just, by the way, I want to talk about this briefly, they just picked up the 5th-year option on Aldon Smith. Now, so the 49ers are probably they have a ton of draft picks in this draft, and they have a ton of talent. Like, they literally cannot make all their picks and expect most of these guys to make the roster. So they should try to trade up. They should try to package these picks because they don't have enough roster spots for the number of draft picks they have, which is a strange problem to have. They also have great cap flexibility right now, but at some point they're going to need to give Kaepernick an extension. So they give this fifth-year option to Aldon Smith, who is coming off a fresh arrest for a bomb threat at an airport. Now, somehow, in the scheme of sports talk that has gone on here, I feel like this is a story that has been kind of brushed over a little bit. I mean, I've heard people talking about it, but you're talking about a guy who's averaged a sack a game through 3 seasons. He's been through 2 seasons or 3 seasons, whatever.
3, I think.
I mean, arguably one of the best defensive line talents, pass rushers in the NFL. Completely disruptive, part of that 49er identity. The 49ers have been now a Super Bowl contender 3 years in a row. Haven't found a way to get there, or haven't found a way to win it, I should say. How have we overlooked? First of all, how have the 49ers overlooked the fact that the guy had a bomb threat in an airport? How do you commit to extended contract for a guy the guy is obviously mentally unstable?
This guy is in like 5 different pending cases right now that he has to go to court for. Like there's charges he's all over the place. It's unbelievable, and it just keeps happening. At some point, you're right. It's mind-boggling. But it really is. It's baffling.
So there are some charges that I can relate to, and some that I can't. Like, killing your baby mama is something I can't relate to. Probably get you cut. You know what I mean? Killing your girlfriend's sister's ex-boyfriend, the way the crazy guy in New England did, the tight end Aaron Hernandez did. Can't relate to that. Some of these things I can relate to. Guy who gets can't stop smoking weed or whatever it is. Like, I get all that. I even get losing your temper at an airport. I don't get how you make the jump to bomb threat in an airport. Like, to me, this says something so deep about you as a person that you can no longer work where I work. Like, forget being in an NFL or an NFL team. I work in a mortgage company. If the best salesperson was arrested this weekend for threatening that there was a bomb on an airplane, we would terminate him. Why is this being let go?
The ups and downs that this guy goes through it's hard to imagine why they would, like you said, they're so deep and they have so much young talent on their defense. Why are they so concerned with keeping him and going continuous? It's just a cycle with this guy. He just keeps getting in all these problems and having all these problems. It really is.
I think they must love him like a son or something. There's got to be some kind of like paternal thing going on there. It cannot be a football decision because nobody needs that kind of stuff going on in their locker room. There's no player that's worth it. Nobody.
I mean, maybe they feel like he's literally mentally unstable and they don't want to abandon him or something and have him go off the deep end. I don't know, but you're right. It is strange.
He's officially entered the Tyson zone for me. There is no story about Aldon
Tyson
Smith.
zone?
Well, there's no story about Aldon Smith that can come up right now that would surprise me. You can say anything about Aldon Smith right now. You could be like, he got a tattoo on his face, and I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. He's Aldon Smith. Or you could be like, he blew up an airplane, and that's where we're at with it. That guy doesn't need to work where I work. Like that's all I can think about is, someone in the Tyson zone does not need to work where I work. Certainly not on a team that is otherwise very successful. Maybe there's part of the story I'm missing, but at some point when Harbaugh writes a book, I'd like this to be its own chapter because I would really like to know what the 49ers are thinking right now.
I think that's an interesting point. If I got an ESPN push notification on my iPhone right now and it said Aldon Smith joins Ringling Brothers Circus, or it could be anything. I mean, the guy is he's so out there, he's so unpredictable. It's just it's crazy.
So now that we've just discussed the 49ers have too many draft picks and they're probably trying to trade up. If they don't trade up, what are they going to do at number 30?
On to the actual what we're really doing here.
Sorry,
Whoa.
I didn't mean to catch you off guard there.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went wide receiver, depending on how that all falls. I don't think they will, because I think they have enough at that position to feel comfortable. I could see them going offensive line, possibly center. We haven't had a center go off the board yet.
What about wide receiver?
Wide receiver. I mean, if
Marquise Lee or somebody like that.
Yeah, if Marquise Lee was there, I wouldn't be surprised if they went there, especially because he's from California and he went to USC, even though they're about 6 hours away from each other.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked. And again, I think they know that they need some weapons on the outside, especially in that division with Seattle. That division's loaded with, as far as defensively, St. Louis and Arizona and Seattle. So you can never have too many weapons on offense competing in the NFC West. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went. I think they'll go offensive line or wide receiver. If Marquise Lee is there, which he is on our board, I think they'll take Marquise Lee.
Okay, so we got Lee going to the 49ers. Who's up next? Denver?
Yes.
So I think if Shazier from Ohio State is here, I love this pick for Denver. This is a kid I really like, and if the Giants had a pick further towards the back of this draft, he's the guy I'd really be looking at for them. I think they could really use him, even though they don't tend to pick linebackers in the first round. But I really like this guy. I think the Broncos need to replace Wesley Woodyard, one of my favorite players in the NFL, highly underrated, very active linebacker, lots of tackles. But I love the instincts on Shazier. I love the measurables. The guy is out of his mind fast, and the John Fox philosophy on defense has been for undersized guys with speed. He fits that mold. I think they would sprint up to the podium if he fell to Denver at number 31.
Yeah, I think they certainly need some help at linebacker. They're obviously pretty loaded on offense, so I don't think they're looking at any skill players in that area. So I think linebacker makes sense for them there. And Shazier is a good athlete. He's the best on the board there. And I think if he gets there, which would kind of surprise me. I mean, we have him getting there, so I guess it wouldn't be that much of a shock. But I think that'd be a good pick for them. That'd be a good value pick.
I'm trying to think of where. I mean, I'm actually looking at a draft that also has him going there. I know I'd seen some others that had him going earlier. So Seattle's our last pick. There's a lot of guys left. So Seattle has this pick here. Who do you see Seattle going with here?
I think Seattle. I think their needs are probably more on offense than anything. Wide receiver, tight end. Defensively, their secondary is set. They don't need really any help there. They'll probably take somebody in the later round just to start to build somebody for the future. I could see them going defensive line, but I think they're either going to go tight end or wide receiver. Tight end, there probably won't be anyone good enough with value there to pick in the first round. Wide receiver, again, we keep going back to these wide receivers, but it is a deep draft, and I think that's where Seattle's need is. So I see him taking either Allen Robinson from Penn State, or possibly Jordan Matthews from Vanderbilt. They're the best two on the board at that point. So I would say Robinson from Penn State is where they'll go.
That could happen. I just one thought I'll share with you is, how many more highly effective years do you think they're going to get out of Marshawn Lynch?
He's shown no signs of decline, but he does.
He gets a lot of carries.
He does take a beating.
And he runs
He's a physical
hard.
Back. He really does. It's a good question. I mean, I like the kid from Ohio State, Carlos Hyde. I like him a lot.
He fits there, man. He's a Marshawn Lynch type, and
he's a physical back, and I think you're right. He'd be someone, if you're going to kind of groom somebody to put in behind Lynch, he probably would be at the end of the first round. That probably wouldn't be a bad pick there. I haven't seen a lot of projections with him going there, but I could see that happening. I wouldn't be shocked.
Just a thought for me, if I'm a team that's as loaded as Seattle, and a wide receiver doesn't fall to me that I like at that pick, I could see a running back being something that, I haven't seen any needs analysis saying like, oh, Seattle needs a running back because you think they have Marshawn Lynch, but that guy takes a beating. I haven't seen a lot of backs take the kind of beating that he delivers it too, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to do that when you're creeping up on 28, 29, 30 years old, and I wouldn't be surprised if they found his replacement sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point. I definitely agree.
So I guess the last thing I'll ask you is, who are the best players on your board that you're kind of surprised didn't go in the who do we officially have the Seattle taking? Who did we go with?
Robinson from Allen Robinson from Penn State, wide receiver.
All right. So, who are our best players that we have here that did not get drafted? We didn't have Carlos Hyde get drafted. Obviously, we think highly of him. Coney Ealy, defensive end out of Missouri, we still have on our board. Jason Verrett, cornerback from TCU, I have as being a high pick that didn't go in our draft. Did Bradley Roby go from Ohio State? Did we have anyone take him?
No.
We actually left some cornerbacks on the board here, probably a lot longer than they're actually going to be left. Or if they do, they'll definitely go off the board early day two. Also left off Kyle Fuller, Virginia Tech. I have him rated pretty highly. Anyone else that pops out to you that you can think of? I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
I think linebackers. We only had three. We only had three go in our draft, but I could see maybe one or two more going. I like the kid from Stanford, although I don't think he'll go in the first round. Scove.
Possible pick for the Giants.
Yeah, maybe in the second round. I think he's kind of projected to fall somewhere in that second to third round range, and I think he's a potentially pretty good player. Other than that, I mean, I don't see too many shocks, but it's like you say, when you think about the way this could all pan out, and that's what's interesting about the draft, is Manziel could fall to 19 or 20. He could go first. He could go third. You could have 4 quarterbacks drafted in the top 10. You could have 1 quarterback drafted in the top 10. So it's gonna be fascinating to see how it plays out.
So let's just recap our picks here. We'll go through them for everybody who I'm sure is still listening at home. So a couple more things. I just want to put this together. So we have... All right. So Clowney going to the Texans at 1. Watkins to St. Louis at 2. Robinson, the big offensive tackle, to the Jaguars at 3. Manziel to Cleveland at 4. Mack to Oakland at 5. Matthews to the Falcons at 6. Taylor Lewin to Tampa at 7. Bortles to Minnesota at 8. Evans to the Bills at 9. HaHa Clinton Dix to Detroit at 10. Carr to the Titans at 11. Ebron to the Giants at 12. Gilbert to the Rams at 13. Pryor to the Bears at 14. I think they may end up taking one of those corners that we left off too. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Aaron Donald, a huge pick for the Steelers, keeping him home at 15. Jernigan out of Florida State at 16. Denard going to Baltimore at 17. Beckham to the Jets at 18. Moses to Miami at 19. Bridgewater to the Arizona Cardinals at number 20. Barr to the Packers at 21. Add with Clay Matthews. Nix out of Notre Dame at 22. We have the funny named offensive guard from UCLA going to Kansas City at number 23. My man Xavier. We're just going to go Xavier, first name. Ford at 24 to the Bengals. 25, Latimer to the Chargers. 26, Batoni to the Browns. C.J. Mosley to New Orleans at 27. Benjamin to Carolina at number 28. That would be a great pick for them. I actually love that pick. Cooks to the Patriots at 29. Actually, I have 3 receivers in a row going right there, 28, 29, 30. Lee to the 49ers, Marquise Lee. Shazer to Denver, and Robinson to Seattle. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. I think there are definitely some factors that it's obviously when you look at all these mock drafts and what the analysts project, and I always get a kick out of watching Kuiper and McShay because they're two. They clearly hate each other, but
I think they've gotten better over the years.
Yeah.
But I think it's become more of an appreciation for the fact they both love the same thing. But yeah, there's certainly no love lost there.
And there's I think there's a definite strong possibility, which we didn't really factor into our mock draft, but that teams are going to move. I think there's certainly the possibility that teams are going to trade up or move down based on their situation. I think it's definitely going to happen. How many times, I'm not sure, but there's going to be some moving and shaking, I think, before draft day. So,
I mean, overall, I think this is one of the more talented drafts that I've seen.
It feels that way. It does.
I mean, there are really good players that we didn't even get off the board in the first 32 picks. I think any of those 4 offensive linemen that the first 4 tackles would have been a top 1 or 2 pick last year. I think the top 3 all would have been the number 1 pick in the draft, honestly, over Eric Fisher. So, I mean, when you really sit back and look at the talent in this draft, aside from quarterback, where there's obviously question marks, this is about as deep a draft as I can remember, especially, again, offensive line, wide receiver, at those positions, the cornerback is deep. There's a lot of talent.
Yeah, and the quarterback thing, that it's not going to pan out, obviously, the way that they're projecting it to. Last year wasn't a deep quarterback draft. This year is an extremely deep quarterback draft. I think there's a real strong possibility that out of the 4 or 5 that they have ranked the highest, that none of them will be the best. And you think about, you got Aaron Murray in the back.
I was surprised. I thought he had a great college career.
A.J. McCarron, who I don't think will be that good of a pro, but there's certainly the potential to be. If he gets in, these guys, it really is dependent upon the situation. The team that they find themselves on, the situation they find themselves in, if they're in the right organization with the right personnel around them, they could all be pretty good quarterbacks and have successful careers. So,
all right. So I think we've done our service here in a little over an hour and 6 minutes. So we'll play some tunes for you on the way out, a little bit of our theme song, and enjoy listening. And we'll see you all Thursday night at the draft.
Peace out. Enjoy.